While verifiable records don't state with assurance how the variety created, specialists concur that the Havanese slipped from Bichon sorts of little partner hounds, similar ones that prompted the advancement of breeds, for example, the Maltese, the Bichon Frise, and the Coton de Tuileries. The national pooch of Cuba may not be one that you're comfortable with. He was, all things considered, just perceived by the American Pet Hotel Club (AKC) in 1996. Notwithstanding, this spunky little pooch is in no way, shape or form new to the canine realm. The Havanese has a significant rich history, and it resembles the following. During the 16th and 17th hundreds of years, Bichon-type hounds were brought to Cuba via ocean traders from Europe. Why they stayed in Cuba is generally guess, yet the common hypothesis is that they were given to noticeable Cuban families as blessings. Some estimate that there were really two comparative yet unmistakable varieties. One was a minuscule white canine, the Blanquito de la Havana, that was in fitting with the design of European fanciers of the time. The subsequent canine was marginally bigger and had a coat that arrived in an assortment of hues. After some time, the two were interbred, bringing about the variety that, since his commencement, has been alluded to as the Havana Silk Canine, the Petite Chien Havane, the Blanquito Cuban, the Spanish Silk Poodle, the Bichon Havanese, and the Bichon Habanero. Today, he's essentially the Havanese and he is Cuba's just local variety. In his most punctual days, this variety was only possessed by Cuba's well-off privileged residents. Haves were the deers of the elite, and by the mid-18th century, the variety was well known on a universal scale and possessed by prominent privileged people, including Sovereign Victoria and Charles Dickens. In the principal half of the 20th century, in any case, notoriety of the variety dwindled, maybe as different varieties began to pick up the consideration of Cuban fanciers. The variety's numbers were low, and afterward came the Cuban transformation of 1959. The well-off Cubans who claimed Havanese fled the nation, and most couldn't bring their pooches. The variety was actually very nearly eradication for a long time. Over the most recent couple of decades, devoted fanciers have taken extraordinary consideration to resuscitate what had become an incredibly uncommon variety. Their endeavors have paid off, and today the Havanese is a famous variety in both Cuba and abroad. The AKC positioned the Havanese as the 25th most regularly enrolled breed in 2014. Today, the Havanese is a fun, strong, and fun-loving buddy with a delicate, satiny coat, a tail persisted his back, and dim, almond-formed eyes described by a delicate articulation. He is just overflowing appeal, and that appeal is taken to an unheard-of level of charm with his trademark swagger. The variety has a shorter upper arm that, in mix with his back drive, makes a fun step. Whatever the reason, the outcome is a one-of-a-kind ricochet that makes certain to put a grin all over. The AKC acknowledges the variety in a stature extending from 8.5 to 11.5 inches, and all hues or markings are allowable. The Havanese is little, however he isn't sensitive, solid, comes up over and over. His physical makeup is adjusted, and not extraordinary at all. These generous little mutts are commonly very sound. Safeguarding of personality is unequivocally underlined in the norm, which takes note of that the Havanese ought to have huge appeal and be agreeable, wise, and lively. Likewise a need is the craving to keep this present variety's appearance as common-looking as could be expected under the circumstances. The Have might be appeared with a brushed or corded coat, however the look ought to be characteristic and not coiffed or styled. Talking about his jacket, the Have's is normally smooth to the touch and wavy, and can become very long. Some prefer to rope the coat, a look similar to that of dreadlocks in individuals. Accomplishing that look requires some investment and ability, in any case, so most normally the Havanese is seen with a coat that is brushed. The Have might be cut, yet he shouldn't be shaved. Some erroneously figure shaving the variety will make him progressively agreeable in the mid-year months, however the inverse is valid. That velvety coat really serves to protect him and shield him from the sun. To keep mats from shaping, normal brushing is required. One of the most charming parts of the variety is his bright aura. A genuine family partner, many depict the Havanese as a Velcro hound. He flourishes when he's in the organization of his family and won't be glad whenever left alone for expanded time frames. Hoping to get out and have a ton of fun with your canine? This variety is in the mood for anything. The Have is insightful, accommodating, and anxious to please. These attributes make him an incredible ordinary buddy, yet additionally a perfect possibility for submission preparing or other brandishing exercises. You'll see Havanese exceed expectations in pretty much anything they can enter: acquiescence, dexterity, following, and so on. This solid little pooch can do it. Grasp uplifting feedback preparing and start from the very first moment with your pet. Similarly as with numerous little varieties, potty preparing can take some time and tolerance. Exercise prerequisites are unassuming for this little pooch, yet he needs at any rate one great walk and some quality play time every day. Haves will react well to on-rope preparing, and you're probably going to find that, any place you go and whatever you do, your Havanese will ricochet cheerfully close by you. Charming, cuddly, and known to be somewhat clownish, the Havanese has a character nearly as radiant as his local nation. Invest a little energy with this charming variety and you just may discover what such huge numbers of canine sweethearts have found. You've gotta have a Have.